Yo, what's up guys? Apparently we do have another improvement on the PC Abyss hard team. And it's going to be exactly this team. So we're using pretty insane runes. Keep that in mind. It's not going to be easy to rune. But it's going to be looking something like this for the Julie, which is definitely decent on stats. However, some guildies already show me is like, that's not even that crazy. Let me show you real stats. So yeah, there's definitely people with better Julies out there than me. So I do assume some people can make it. But it's not going to be that many people being able to make this, so maybe it's more of a showcase rather than a full-on guide kind of thing. Plus, a thing that a lot of people might be is like, oh, I need the Julie at this speed. No, the Julie speed is dependent on the speed that you have on this thing, but I'll talk a bit more about that. So, what is the idea of the team? Julie has to one-shot the wave while being decently fast to have the Argius on a speed buff still having 200 more speed than the boss. And then we have the Perfect AI from the Seek, always giving the Begin Hunt. Bernard apparently has a perfect eye as well, similar to Economia. If someone is a low attack bar, it will try to boost that attack bar, which is actually a decent find by Moses. This is also the team by Moses. Link of him in the description down below, which is definitely an interesting find. And there's a few more things to it, because I was actually looking for a perfect AI speed buff, because the first turn of the Argy, especially on speed increasing effects, is actually really mediocre. So, and then we have the final finish with the Patrick on the skill one. This team does run about 15 to 16 seconds on my phone, and it's mainly depending on whether they use skill 1s or skill 2s, because skill 1s just have lower animation. Skill 1 would be fast animation, still one-shots over there. Then we have the kill over there, begin the hunt, tailwind. This S2 is shorter animation, that S2 is shorter animation, then we have 17 seconds if they both all use S1s. Then we're looking at 16, or on my phone, a 15-second team, because this team over here, or the time that you see over there, is from that team altogether. So definitely interesting team right there. Definitely very hard to build, because in the end, you have to look at a certain speed threshold where your Argus is on triple fight. Your main unit that you're focusing on the Julie, because the Julie is really hard to build. But I might even have an upgrade on top of this. And that's the main reason why I make this video. Otherwise, I'm just repeating the same video that Moses already did make. So what might be that upgrade beef? Well, let's first explain how this team exactly worked with the speed that we do need on this unit. So in this case, I have plus a 38 speed. It is triple fight as mentioned, but we are working with the speed increasing effect and speed increasing effect of 50 in total. So what does that exactly mean? Well, Argius needs to have 200 extra speed or 200 more speed than the enemy to go for full ignored defense. Boss is sitting at 175. It is not a 169, which most bosses are in this. So in this case, you would need to have, I think it is going to be somewhere along the lines with a speed buff of this amount of speed. So this is where you can see how much speed you have with a speed buff. But if we add more speed increasing effect, we can lower this number. So for a lot of people, let's say you have double 23s adding in a 64, then your 64 would become it that you have 415. You only need the 375. So we can lower this number to, I think it's going to be 145-ish, no lower, 140-ish, 141. So 141 is going to be enough to ignore defense with the amount of speed that you have on this unit. However, I'm working with a 150 and therefore we have a 138. And there, so you can also make your Julie just one speed faster than this thing itself, or actually the same speed because you're not taking that lead. And therefore you can make your Julie a lot slower, mainly by having speed increasing artifacts. So definitely the speed that I'm having doesn't mean the speed that you're supposed to be having. But how can we actually make this team faster? Because this is already crazy fast. This is the fastest team out there. You can actually make this team a little bit more safe and easier to rune, because currently with the current sets that I'm working, which is a lot of additional damage artifact plus damage on light, both sides, you can also go for a Liam instead of this. Do I have my Liam in here? It's probably somewhere located over here. Liam, you have a little bit higher lead. It is going to be a little bit slower, but it's easier to make. And therefore you can get away with just a little bit more damage, because you get 8% extra attack from that. And that helps out your Julie a good amount. In my case, my Julie, I can remove one fight set. I'm still one-shielding. I can remove two fight sets. And I will be one-shielding to the extent where sometimes in wave 3, there's like 1 or 2 units alive based on like the damage fluctuation of 5% in there. And that is with the Patrick. So technically from the highest point, I remove 24% attack and I can still one-shot. But then how about the next thing? How can we actually improve this? And the easiest improvement is an Uldong. I don't have Uldong, but if you place Uldong over here, one-shotting with your Julie becomes so much easier, and then you can focus a lot more damage on your Argus, where you don't make it 555, but you actually go for a Rage build. And then your Argus has to one-shot the boss, and he is actually really good at that. And then you have like a 15-second team. And that would look something like this. Full Natty is actually using that. Funny enough, Full Natty is only just a few seconds faster than I am, because my current team is exactly what I just showcased over there. So this is the team with an Uldong. It's definitely a little bit easier to build because you have a lot less threshold on you, and you have to do the whole one-shotting mechanic. Whereas right now, you definitely can see that we're not even remotely close to one-shotting. But I think there's still a way with a free-to-play unit we might get close to one-shotting. But it's definitely going to be on edge, and that is probably pushing my rune limits even way more. So with this skill 1, definitely one-shot. Skill 2, we're definitely one-shot. But if we look at the amount of damage output that we have with a skill 2 over here, for example, it's a good amount if we land branding on the very first hit. But we also have to kill with a skill 1. And skill 1 does about like 60% damage right now. We're going to fight the other 40% damage. That's going to be difficult. And we're actually going to be finding it in the form of a Miriam, because Miriam does have extra attack for your attack and extra speed for your speed buff. So with that said, the number that we have over here could actually be an 85 in that case. And with an 85, I think it was 122-ish, no, 121. Yeah, 121 speed that we could actually lower it down to. And then I can also make my Julie a lot slower. Because of my Julie making it slower, I can go for more. I can go for full damage set on the Argus rather than going for a full on stupid set, which is this thing on triple fight. And yeah, I actually do have decent triple fight runes, hence the result on this. But that makes it a lot better. But then I was also thinking, rather than just going speed increasing, I can also just go for heavy damage on light. Heavy damage on light, meaning we're going to go 20% damage on light, 9% attack increasing effect, 9% up for the speed increasing effect. We're going to work with this, and we're going to work with a 32. However, we do still get a 32 plus a 35. At least I assume that's how it works. So we're going to work with a 67 in that. 6-7! Definitely did not expect to say that shit. Amount of speed that we then need is a 130. So therefore we also have to make this 234 into this over here, which is about a 230-ish as well. 231, 231. That is the amount of speed that we have to be working with. I hope my Julie can one-shot on a 231 set where I do remove a lot more stats altogether, but let's try out the Julie first. Okay, so this will be the Julie build improvement. Let's see how much that actually does improve. And the big question is, would that be good enough to one-shot while removing 3 fight sets? Which in the end, it's just actually a very minor change with just 1 rune being changed. So let's see if that is going to be good enough. I am not 100% sure about that. But with that, let's also find a set that fits the Argus with a rage whatever. Yeah, there might be one issue with this current build that I'm looking at. It doesn't have any accuracy, and therefore landing the branding will be pretty hard. So let's just give it a try and see for limit testing if it does work or not. This is actually a new rune that's really darn good. Damn, that rune. Okay, so this would be the set. Definitely not sure if this is going to be good enough, but let's just simply give it a try in a one-time try thing. Okay, let's see how far we got. I'm just going to manual through it just to see if this is remotely close to possible or not. Okay, so first wave does die. Does not necessarily mean that the other wave also does die. So skill 1, 180k damage. That's a lot of damage right there, though. Does this also die? Does also die. I think it is kind of on edge. It might have some damage fluctuation where it could or couldn't kill. Big question right now. How much damage is this and do we actually kill? No, that's not good enough damage. And that's actually still pretty far off from... Wow, you need an insane amount of damage to actually get this going. I guess with Uldong, things get a little bit easier to do. But wow, that's a lot of damage lacking still. That is pretty darn hard to rune. Let's actually look at how an S2 would look like with and without a branding. Just to kind of limit test, like, okay, how far off am I from doing this? Apparently my Julie is fine in current state, because that seems to be doing just fine. And all of this, yep, that's definitely a kill in my book right there. But even with the insane artifact that I have on the left side, Julie is definitely good enough to kill right now. How much do we get on an S2? No branding. Yeah, that's also... If you had a branding earlier on, maybe so you would get close to it. But okay, for this you need a really, really darn insane rage set. That's, I would say, pretty not obtainable kind of rage set. So fastest team out there is probably still just with the Patrick in there. After that, it's easier with a Liam in there because of the higher lead. Of course, if you have an Uldong, with an Uldong, apparently this is possible to build in a similar style, but then you would have to work with the other speed tuning check thing, whatever, as mentioned, mainly because, well, you don't have the Miriam boosting your speed even more. So for Uldong owners, really, really nice team, but I do kind of want to see what happens if we get a... Okay, this is like the slight damage fluctuation I was talking about. It's not the worst if it only happens on the second wave. So branding, yeah, no, still by the slightest bit of damage lacking, or still a decent bit of damage lacking. And I don't think I can get any better than the current rage set that I do have on this unit, which is already pretty decently substantial to insane. And yeah, you need really, really... Like, maybe for the few people out there that have been re-upping Rage Runes, or they're farming Rage Runes in Karazhan, and they have Ancient Rage Runes to work with, because in the end, my Rage Runes aren't that crazy. But yeah, that's a rough one right there, especially with this kind of artifact. Like, except for this line, it doesn't really get much better than that for just dealing damage over there. Similar for this one, it's a really solid one for damage as well. But apparently not good enough. So, yep, that's the test right there. As mentioned, Uldong will definitely work. If you can make it, definitely use the Patrick team out there. And then again, it's already 15 seconds to 16 seconds. How much more do you want? But it's always fun to go a little bit faster, any kind of shape or way. Either way, guys, that's all for this video. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you as always in the next one. Also, do keep in mind that this team, if it works, it is 100% its perfect AI, and you don't care about any debuffs. And all of these units will always use those skills, so it's always 100% AI. So that's really nice right there as well. Definitely does speed things up where it can never fail. It's impossible to fail in that team that they showcased at the start, which is really nice. Well, see you later, guys. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.